Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dynasty Tailgate Podcast, a part of the Semi Pro Fantasy Sports Podcast Network. Uh, the Senior Bowl is upon us. We got 1 week until we will be in Mobile, Alabama. Well, a couple days ago from today, but whatever. We will be there and we will be able to give you coverage of every player that's down there. We will see all the sights and sounds, make sure everybody is doing what they need to do. So today, I have my offensive points cohort, Joe Wiggins at OP Economist, who's going to join me down in Mobile, Alabama. And we're just going to kind of run through a little preview. So, Joe, how's it going today?
It's going good. It's a little cold in St. Louis today. We woke up with some flurries. I am ready to be down in Mobile, get some crab legs, some oysters, watch some football. I'm ready for it. This is going to be a great time.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm finally glad to be like transitioning to the new season. We've watched these players in college all year long. I'm ready. Senior Bowl is where the draft starts. That's how Jim Nagy pitches the Senior Bowl to everyone, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, this will be our first real look at some of these guys, not on their college teams. They haven't had pro days yet. Obviously, the combine, comes after this. But this will kind of be our first crack at looking at most of this talent is going to go somewhere in this draft. So it's just a matter of trying to decipher who's going to go where and what it's going to look like. But I cannot wait to get down there.
Yeah, and it's going to be great because, I mean, you and I watch tape. We watch the games. We watch all this. But it's going to be cool to see what the motor is like on those guys. I mean, obviously, some players could treat this like the Pro Bowl. Other players could treat this like their shot to really – vault themselves up into the first round. So it's going to be cool listening to the contact, hearing the motor, getting to interview these people. Still want to get Dan Campbell in a drinking situation, but
yes, we will see what we can do. Maybe we can at least get some assistant coach, like the assistant wide receivers coach. Maybe we can chat them up, see what we can do. But that'll be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of draft people down there, ESPN, Fox, just random draft analysis and analyst from other platforms that are going to be down there. Can't wait to chat it up with them and see what we got going on there. So without further ado, let's get to the teams. So the national team will be coached by Dan Campbell and the Lions. I think this team, in my opinion, did not have quite the talent that the American team got, but there's still a lot of good here, and I cannot wait to see. So I'll just start right at the quarterbacks. We got Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter, Carson Strong. Obviously, the one I'm most excited to see, and I think everybody is Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh quarterback. Cannot wait to see where he ends up in this draft. I'm also interested to see what Desmond Ritter looks like next to Kenny Pickett and Carson Strong because his arm strength is not near what those guys are. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly he looks like compared to those two guys. But as far as the quarterbacks go on the national team, Joe, what are you thinking?
I'm really excited to see Kenny Pickett. Just watching tape, Carson Strong is interesting. He's got good arm strength. He holds the ball a little bit too low for my liking, but he kind of reminds me of a Derek Carr-esque quarterback. And we've seen Derek Carr have success out there. Yes, this is the season for comps, but when you're watching tape, that's just what you get. But he's going to be interesting because I feel like, he's probably going to be a day 2 pick and could easily go and compete for a starting job with all of the openings in the NFL right now that we think are going to be needing quarterbacks. So I'm really excited to see him. What about you?
That's kind of where I'm at as well. I haven't been the biggest Carson Strong fan this entire year. I just think that although he has the amazing arm strength, if you get him, he will not be scrambling out of the pocket to make a throw. In my opinion, he's going to be he's either making that throw from the pocket or he's going to go down in a sack. But Kenny Pickett's the one I'm most excited to see because I think he's a starter next season. It might not be at the beginning, but I think at some point this player will take over. Plenty of mocks have him drafted somewhere where he's going to start right away, like Pittsburgh Steelers, for example, maybe him ending up there. So that'll be interesting. Desmond Ritter, I really have no idea. I wasn't really impressed with him throughout the season as far as their team was good. The defense was really good, and we'll get to a couple of them here in a minute. But as far as Desmond Ritter goes, I wasn't really that impressed with anything. So I'm kind of interested to see what he looks like down there in Mobile. So I'll move on to the running backs that I'm excited to watch for, and that's obviously Rachaad White. He's been like a big riser from Arizona State. And then Hassan Haskins, the running back from Michigan, who kind of took on, took a big load there at the end of the season. So I was kind of interested to see what he was able to do in this kind of an offense. So as far as running backs go, Joe, what do you think?
I mean, I got to watch Hassan Haskins quite a bit this year. Rashad White's awesome. If you get a chance, watch his tape. He had a 16% target share at Arizona State, which is pretty obnoxious for a running back. All the numbers he put up, number 1 in yards per route run, second in receptions on the year, those would have been top 3 last year for last year's draft of running backs. He's also 6'2", 210, which is just massive. He's very intriguing. He could be an absolute weapon out of the backfield.
He is, and the only little thing about Rashad White that I'm not sure about is he only played 2 years of college. He didn't play. I think his freshman and sophomore year he didn't play, and then he played his junior and senior year, which means there's not as much to go on. He's kind of a fresher, rawer guy, but at the same time, like you mentioned, the size, like that's kind of exactly what you're looking for. And I mean, 15 touchdowns. What more can you say? I mean, as long as he's getting through the line, which 5.5 yards per rush, plenty good. I'm excited to see him down there. I'm also excited to see Haskins. I wasn't as impressed with him in the game against Georgia there at the end of the season, but as far as the rest of the season goes, he was really good. So I can't wait to see him down there in Mobile.
Not exciting for fantasy, but Haskins has to be the best pass protector of any of these running backs. So he's probably going to be one of the guys on the field the quickest out of any of these guys if they get drafted.
Yeah.
Or when they get drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he's not projected probably to be a 3-down back, but, situational, which could lead to more. I mean, you just need opportunities. And as being a good pass protection or pass protector, that leads to more opportunities.
Absolutely.
So I'll move on to the wide receivers. I'll make this one be kind of quick for me because I'm only looking for obviously Jahan Dotson from Penn State. He's kind of the big name there. And then Romeo Dobbs, which is Carson Strong's favorite target when he was at in Nevada. So I can't wait to see what he looks like being thrown to from other quarterbacks because obviously Carson Strong's got a cannon for an arm. So is the running back or is the wide receiver making the quarterback or is the quarterback making the wide receiver? I'm interested to see what that looks like because if Desmond Ritter can complete passes to him, then maybe he is going a little lower than I would anticipate. What are you thinking about the wide receivers?
Well, Dobbs is interesting because he lines up all over the field. He's capable of lining up all over the field. He has a really big catch radius, which is huge, obviously, but the hands are inconsistent just watching tape. But yeah, I like him. The guy I'm really excited about is Jahan Dotson. He's 5'11", 184. The only knock on him is his size. I mean, if you watch him, he looks like a jitterbug out there. He is beating people off the line. He's great at route running. His hands are very sticky. He's honestly my gem of this whole Senior Bowl, especially for this team right here.
Yeah, I get nervous because I feel like people immediately are going to say, oh, Rondale White, he was short too. Rondale White was 5'8" and he's speedster. That's not Jahan Dotson's game. He's more of like I'm trying to think of somebody that size, but like Randall Cobb, where he's going to be, that check down Charlie. He's going to be able to get, if you need, 7 yards, he's going to get you 8, like that kind of thing. I don't really see him getting to be a big play guy at any point. Maybe that happens. But I see him more as being like a extra hand out of the backfield, like not running back, like lining up there, but just, a little check down guy that, plenty of PPR. He's going to get peppered with targets.
I saw a lot of St. Brown when I was watching his tape. He definitely plays bigger than 5'11". I mean, he does. He's beating cornerbacks consistently. So
he does. I would not be shocked if at the combine somehow he spikes up to 6 feet as well. Yeah. They do all the funny stretching and all that stuff. Yeah. But I would not be shocked if he ends up measuring out at 6 foot at the combine, but we'll see. I think there are measurements at the Senior Bowl, but it's not quite as intense as the combine because people take the combine as like the word of God. So hopefully, yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly what, his 40 time was blank. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that must be it then. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on quickly to tight ends. I'm actually excited about this tight end group. So Trey McBride, Charlie Kolar, and Jeremy Ruckert. Trey McBride is obviously the biggest one people are going to look for because he is a receiving threat, which is kind of what you're looking for here. Not the best in pass protection, but he is capable. But obviously his receiving prowess is kind of what he's known for. So out of these tight ends, Joe, what do you think?
Well, they got some massive tight ends on this team. They definitely got the bigger side of the spectrum here.
Yes.
Jeremy Ruckert he's definitely a wide tight end on there. Pretty good blocker. It should get him on the field early. The guy,
yeah, Jeremy Ruckert is like he is a run blocking tight end. Like that is how he's going to get on the field. And then if he catches some balls, he catches some balls.
Right. So definitely from a fantasy perspective, Trey McBride is the more interesting one. You already touched on him. He didn't have a ton of success in the end zone this year, but I think that was a little bit more of scheme than it was his actual ability. So it'll be interesting to see what develops from him. But he is a specimen at the position there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I also just threw in Charlie Kolar. At the beginning of the year, I thought Charlie Kolar was going to be the best tight end in this class, but as the season went on, it's just Iowa State had a really weird year. I mean, Breece Hall also, towards the end, Breece Hall had an amazing end of his season, but Charlie Kolar kind of just didn't have what you were looking for. He did against Oklahoma, but apparently he can only play that well against Oklahoma every year, it seems like. But as a whole on the season, it was kind of disappointing. I'm interested to see what he looks like down in Mobile, away from Iowa State, away from Brock Purdy. See, with these actual professional quarterbacks that are going to be throwing him the ball, see if it ends up any differently.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the defense because this is an IDP-centric, show as well. We don't want to leave out the IDP. We'll just start at the linebackers. They have the best one. Devin Lloyd is on this team. He is by far and away the best linebacker definitely at the Senior Bowl. He might be the best in the class. I still have Nakobe Dean slightly ahead of him, but you can't go wrong with Devin Lloyd. He's going to be a top 15 draft pick for sure. And then my other one I'm looking for is Mike Rose. He's from Iowa State. I really liked what he was able to do in Iowa State's defense this year. Do you want to talk about Devin Lloyd, Joe? He's amazing.
I was when you told me to really dive into this guy, the immediate, and again, it's comp season, but I saw Devon White and my mouth started watering a little bit.
Yes.
And then, this dude, former safety, really prototypical to what you see in the NFL these days. So he's former safety. He's all over the field. He's lean and mean, literally just speed everywhere. So he's really what teams value in their linebackers. So really excited to see Devin. And then Mike Rose, prototypical size. Interestingly enough, they had him guarding the slot a ton at Iowa State.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah, and then he really, when people block him, he tries to beat them with finesse instead of strength, which is my only knock on him. Obviously, people have been successful in the league doing that, but I think he's going to have to bulk up and learn how to run into those guys a little bit harder to have a ton of success. But Devin Lloyd's definitely the more interesting of the two.
I'm pretty sure everybody's going to have their eyes glued to Devin Lloyd the entire time. So hopefully a couple of these other guys are able to show out. We'll get to the defensive line real quick. There's not really any amazing defensive linemen, but Myjai Sanders, Haskell Garrett, and Perion Winfrey are the three that I kind of am going for. Sanders is kind of the big one because I think he's going to rise up maybe into the second round by when it's all said and done. But Haskell Garrett and Perion Winfrey were good all season. I think they're going to definitely get drafted probably the third round, maybe fourth. So as far as the defensive line goes, are those the three that you're looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. Winfrey is going to be intriguing to watch because he's so big. He's so fast. They kind of played him out of position, it seems like, in college.
Oklahoma defense was a mess. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
He plays a position that really the NFL doesn't look for that often anymore. But, he's a good project. It'll be interesting to see what he can do.
I agree. I don't really want to deep dive into the defensive linemen. They're projects. Sanders, I'm very interested in. That's the one I'm going to be looking for while I'm down there. But Garrett and Winfrey, also good. Defensive lineman is going to be huge in this draft as far as the edge rushers are obviously going to go at the top of the draft, and then just as it goes on down the line, we'll see.
How did Garrett get shot in the face?
I don't know. I need to research this.
I have no idea, man.
If we see him down there, I'm not asking him, though.
I'm not asking him either, but
All right, we'll get on to the defensive backs real quick for the national team. That'll wrap it up. So I got Tariq Castro-Fields and Kobe Bryant. No relation. He is the guy that was across from Sauce Gardner at Cincinnati. It was that defensive backfield was two of the best in the nation, probably the two best all season. You saw when they played Alabama, they Nick Saban even knew I'm not throwing on Gardner and Bryant because I am not having my quarterback risk it. So they ran the ball the entire time. But as far as the two defensive back goes, yeah, how did you think?
It's going to be interesting to see both of them. I mean, Castro's got a lot more tread on his tires. He played all 4 years, a lot of snaps the whole time. Kobe Bryant, he's not great in the run game, but he has the potential to be an absolute ball hawk in the NFL. He's always looking for it. Cincinnati, I mean, I don't know if they told those guys to play safe and not go for the interceptions, but he always put himself in a good position to make those plays. Again, a little bit more of a project, but if they can get him to trust his instincts a little bit better, I think he could pay off huge in the NFL. And speaking of Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, yesterday was 2 years since we lost him, so still very sad. I will never forget that day. Kobe was an idol.
Yeah, right. It was right before COVID started. That's how I will remember that because my wife got COVID the day that he died. So, yeah, wild. But we didn't know what it was at the time. So, anyway, that's a little history lesson for every kid out there that may not remember 2 years ago already. All right, let's move to the American team. That's going to be coached by the Jets. Robert Saleh and them boys are going to get these guys in shape. I'm really this team I'm fascinated in because we'll start right at the quarterbacks. They have three of the most interesting ones: Malik Willis, Sam Howell, and Bailey Zappi, who I don't want people to forget because Bailey Zappi, if you look at his stats, I mean, he played at Western Kentucky, but they were redonkulous how good the stats were for him. So I cannot wait to see what he's able to do down there. But
does he hold the record for passing yards?
He doesn't, but you would be shocked. It would be shocking if he was close to that because he just had that many. But obviously, Malik Willis is the one that we're all going to be kind of honed in on because nobody's really sure what he's going to be capable of. I mean, he's projected. I mean, Mel Kiper has him as the first quarterback off the board in his draft to the Washington football team. So, you've seen Malik Willis play, Joe. What do you think?
I love watching Malik Willis play. I mean, it's super interesting. He's got an absolute cannon. He's a dynamic runner, true dual threat RPO guy. There's a lot of comps I'm seeing out there to like a Josh Allen type player. I think of all the quarterbacks in this game, I would say Kenny Pickett's a little bit closer to a Josh Allen type.
For sure.
But I mean, that's what all the emphasis is in the NFL is for these dual threat quarterbacks. And you've seen, I mean, even Jalen Hurts, who not exactly the most successful passer of the ball, has a lot of value just being able to run the ball and run that RPO offense. But he's got a cannon. He's really good at improv when the play breaks down. But, he bails out of plays pretty quickly. The offense that he plays in doesn't really require true progressions. So that's going to be room for him to grow and develop. If you put him in Washington with Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, I think that would be a decent start to the formula.
I don't see him starting right away. It's tough with how raw he is. I mean, he's rawer than Trey Lance, I would say. Yeah. Trey Lance was pretty stinking raw when he came out. So I will be fascinated to see how he stacks up and looks against these other quarterbacks because I think that's where, I mean, Joe, during the practices, I think we'll be able to tell who is like way better than who. And so if Malik Willis is standing next to Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, and Sam Howell, and he looks all the bit, part like them, then maybe he, does belong up there. So hopefully he can surprise us. Playing at Liberty is kind of tough because of the talent around him, but we'll see. So quarterbacks are going to be fun because all six of these guys are getting drafted. Bailey Zappi probably will be a little bit later, maybe the third or fourth round, but the other five are all in play for the first. I mean, Carson Strong and Desmond Ritter, I think, are going to fall out, but Malik Willis, Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett are all going in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see how they all stack up. We'll get to running backs. Brian Robinson Jr., James Cook, Damian Pierce. I love Brian Robinson Jr. I'm a little scared that he is a little Trey Sermon-ish, where he kind of came on really hot at the end of the season, and maybe it doesn't translate as well. But he went to Alabama, Joe. Alabama running backs, other than Eddie Lacy, have all worked out quite well. So
it's hard to argue with it. I mean, the dude runs tough. He's not afraid of contact at all. I mean, when you saw him play Georgia, he was just running over the defensive back when they were waiting for him on the line there. He's an effective receiver. He's got good vision. He's very patient. But he's not overly explosive. I mean, he has good enough vision that he's able to get to the seam and do that. Obviously, those holes are going to tighten up in the pros. But he has the option to make something out of nothing. I think he needs a great offensive line to really be successful. I don't think he's going to be like Najee. And we even saw Najee get torn up a little bit because of the bad offensive line. But he was able to make a little bit more than I think Brian Robinson will be able to.
Yeah, I think Brian Robinson eventually could be a 3-down back, but I don't think it's going to be – he's going to be one of those guys that comes in for an injury and you're going to be like, oh, Brian Robinson, I remember him. And then he's going to like be really good.
Yep.
And he'll surprise. But as far as James Cook goes, Dalvin Cook's brother, we have to mention him. He's going to be really good receiving back, not a 3-down back. 5'11", the size is a little small for what they're going to, what he would be needing to do. But I think he will get an opportunity. And Damian Pierce, I'm very fascinated in because he is a really big riser on a lot of people's boards. And just the size, he's a bowling ball, Joe. He's 5'10", 215. I mean,
he's massive.
I mean, and you put that along with his touchdowns. He had 13 touchdowns on the ground, not a lot of rushing yards. So it's kind of be interesting to see what he can do too.
Yeah, I think a fair comp for him would be A.J. Dillon, just based on his power.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, his strength is second to none in this class right here. Has good vision. He keeps fighting. Really good running back there. I mean, as far as James Cook goes, the only knock I can find on him after watching his tape is he absolutely does not seek contact in the least bit. Yeah. Obviously, that's the game he plays, and that's been successful before. But that's a little makes me a little tentative on being super hyped about him.
I agree completely. All right, move on to wide receivers. There are not a lot of big names in this group, but Jalen Tolbert, Dontario Drummond, and Reggie Roberson are the three that I'm looking for. Jalen Tolbert's that's been my guy from the beginning. I love that guy. Played for the South Alabama Jaguars, which is a hometown team, Joe. South Alabama is where this is going to be held down there. So I can't wait. He is lightning fast. He is a deep threat of all deep threats. He made the most that he could out of being at South Alabama, but I cannot wait to see what he can do. And Dontario Drummond was Matt Corral's guy, so I can't wait to see what he's able to do down there as well.
No. Talk about my guy Reggie, man.
Yeah, talk about him.
Oh, I'm so excited to see this guy. I'm as close as you can get to jumping straight into the deep end on this dude after watching him. I mean, he's wholly shifty. He's wholly speed. He has absolute sticky hands. Wins jump balls. What more do you want from my man here? It's really easy to get impressed by these speed guys in the draft process here, so I'm trying to temper my expectations a little bit, but I'm as close as you can get to completely jumping in on this dude. It just looks awesome watching him play.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be probably 5th round. Can't wait to see. Maybe he raises his stock this weekend. Because I think he's one of those guys that's kind of flying under the radar right now just because the talent at the top is so good. Yeah. But he definitely could end up being in there and being something that we are all looking for. Got 2 tight ends to look out for: Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina and Grant Calcaterra from SMU. I'm kind of just interested to see Grant Calcaterra because he played at Oklahoma. He said he was going to retire from football because of concussions, I believe. And then he came back and went to SMU and played a year there and was really good down in SMU. So kind of interested to see that. Isaiah Likely, I just think, is a good tight end for the draft. I think he's going to be a good receiving tight end. He was the entire season for Grayson McCall, which I love that name, from Coastal Carolina quarterback. But Isaiah Likely, pretty good tight end. Not as good as the other side, I don't think, but I'm still interested to see.
Yeah. Isaiah Likely just got that big build that, box out defenders in the end zone type. Kind of like what we used to see from Antonio Gates, 5 receptions for 15 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's kind of what I see him doing. He runs really well, too, for his size, so we could even see more. But Calcaterra looks good, too. Excited to see those guys.
I'm interested to see Calcutta because he's had a weird college career, so interested to see what he looks like down there. I don't really have any linebackers I'm looking for on this side, Joe. I just don't. I've read the names. None of them are my guys that I have even thought to put on here. It's nothing against them. I'm hoping one of them surprises me, and I could come back in 2 weeks on here and say, wow, I was dead wrong about so-and-so. So hopefully that happens. But as going into it, I'm not overly prepared and excited for any of them. So we'll move right to defensive linemen because these two guys are exciting. So Kingsley Ingabare, I believe, as that is said, and Fedarian Mathis from Alabama. Ingabare is going to be the top guy out of the defensive line in this draft. I cannot wait to see where he ends up. He's definitely going to be probably top 20 in the draft. So he's got not a lot to show, but he's just got, a lot of prowess coming in. So of these two guys, Joe, what do you think?
Ingabare, definitely. I mean, watching his tape, he just looks like Leonard Floyd to me. And that it makes it hard to be excited for that guy in the NFL unless he goes somewhere that has Aaron Donald and Von Miller on the team with him. Leonard Floyd's been successful, but I mean, he's tall. He's a big dude. Ingabare is. He gets small and he gets knocked off his path, which is exactly what we saw with a guy like Leonard Floyd, that slight frame, quick to get kicked off his path there. So it's exciting. I like him. And Mathis is a Bama guy. He's massive. He's going to be a run grader. I don't see anything past that really. Yeah.
Ingabare, I mean, the stats didn't jump off the page. He only had 4.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. But I just, it's not necessarily a stats thing. It's just like how he affects the field. And having him on the opposite side of another defensive end would be really powerful and good for him. So hopefully that can come to pass. And then Mathis is just, he was such a disruptor. I mean, he just annihilated everybody on Cincinnati in that game. I mean, they called his name early and often. So on to defensive backs, Roger McCreary and Darion Kendrick from Georgia. Both of these guys are going to be really good defensive backs. This whole entire cornerback class is just one of the best I've seen in a long, long time. Like just everybody that's going to be out there. Because we haven't even gotten, because they're not going to be there, the Senior Bowl, but the two top prospects, Derek Stingley and Ahmad Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, this just entire cornerback class is going to be incredible. And Roger McCreary is my guy. That guy is really good and can coverage. And I can't wait. As far as IDP goes, maybe not, but as far as just a player goes and how good of a defense is going to be with him, I think, sky is the limit.
Yeah. McCreary is definitely the most complete defensive back in this list of names at the Senior Bowl here. I mean, he's calm under pressure. He's quick. He's a ball hawk. Every once in a while, it looks like he takes the plays off. Just an observation, a little Jerry Jeudy-esque.
Yeah, little Jerry Jeudy-esque.
He'll need some good coaching, but I'm excited to see him. And Darion Kendrick, he's a little bit slower, but he's a big guy, so I think he's kind of your prototypical defensive back these days.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what we're looking for down at the Senior Bowl next week. So there will be no show next week. No offensive points, no Dynasty tailgate. We will be down at the Senior Bowl, and we will be showing plenty of content from there. So follow us on Twitter at OP Economist and at Ombre Vendor. Also, just follow at Semi-Pro Fantasy on Twitter. Click like and subscribe on this video as well. We're going to have plenty of content coming out from down there. I'm really excited to get down there and see everybody and see what everybody's doing. It's going to be a fun time, Joe. So what do you think? Are you excited to go down there?
I'm so excited. I'm ready. I mean, I'm bringing my notebook. I'm going to be jotting down notes of everything I see. I'm really excited for this. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to hand Jordan the bill for all our adventures.
Yes, it's going to be fun. Whatever kind of bills, Jordan, you want to pay for, we will not be mad about it. So anyway, from Joe, from Billy, have a great rest of your day. Watch some football this weekend. Watch the Senior Bowl next weekend. If you see us, that's probably not a good thing, but in case you do, we'll see you then. Thank you.